Good evening and welcome to TVB News. Today marks the 28th anniversary of the establishment of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. To celebrate the occasion, a flag-raising ceremony was held at Golden Bauhinia Square in Wan Chai this morning. Stepping into Golden Bauhinia Square from the Convention and Exhibition Center, Chief Executive John Lee and his wife were welcomed by uniformed groups. The flag-raising ceremony began with the flag and ceremonial guards marching to the square with a Chinese-style goose step. In attendance were former Hong Kong SAR chief executives, including Leung Chun-ying, now serving as the vice chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Donald Tsang, and Carrie Lam. Also attending the ceremony were mainland officials, including Zhou Ji, director of the Central Government's Liaison Office, representatives of the People's Liberation Army Hong Kong Garrison, and other mainland organizations stationed in the city. Permanent judge of the Court of Final Appeal, Roberto Ribeiro, and other senior officials were also present. Former SAR chief executive Chung Chi-hua was once again absent. There was a flypast of government flying service helicopters carrying the national and SAR flags. Fireboats and police vessels gave water salutes in Victoria Harbour. Prior to the ceremony at Golden Bauhinia Square, central government units in Hong Kong, such as the Liaison Office and the PLA's Hong Kong Garrison, also held their own flag-raising ceremonies. Speaking at a reception at the Convention and Exhibition Center, Chief Executive John Lee said the city is witnessing the results of the policies implemented under his administration. Lee said over the past 3 years, the government has strived to improve residents' livelihoods, completed Article 23 legislation, and improved local governance. The CE said since he took office, the city's economic growth has turned from negative to positive, while the government is doing its best to deal with the housing and land supply issues. Citing a Chinese poem, Lee suggested he would rather take the difficult path as a reformer than the easy path by doing nothing. The CE added Hong Kong must further integrate into the overall development of the mainland and take advantage of the one country, two systems principle as it undergoes a period of economic transformation. Celebrations of the 28th anniversary of the Hong Kong SAR come with a series of concessions and freebies, including 3 days of free tram rides. Mosinai reports.
In Wan Chai at noon, this tram station started getting busy. Trams were packed with commuters. The fare collection setup was covered with sign reminding passengers of the 3-day free rides.
I didn't know it's for 3 days. We should use public transportation more, and it's a way to, give some free transportation for the people living here and the tourists.
I'm not a person that keep going anywhere. Only if I have a place need to go, just I'm using the tram. This is just only a few days they have in 1 year.
While some commuters were in favor of the policy, saying it would benefit many people, they said the free journeys had attracted more riders than usual and made the trams crowded. A ceremony was held in the morning to mark the start of the free rides. Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alice Mak was among the guests at the event. Several other government officials also took a tram ride, including Financial Secretary Paul Chan, Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong, Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Chak Weng-heng, and Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Dunn.
Apart from public transport, more than 4,000 restaurants and shops offered July 1st discounts and promotions as a gesture of celebrating the anniversary.
There was a queue outside this chain restaurant in North Point. The chain is offering a 29% discount on all dine-in meals. A few diners said they decided to stay in Hong Kong because of the eatery discounts. The restaurant manager said they expect more customers than usual, adding they have increased the supply by 10%. Concessions apply to museums as well. Visitors who have completed online registration were able to enter to thematic exhibitions at the Hong Kong Palace Museum free of charge. And Plus Museum, meanwhile, provided free entry to the standard exhibitions without the need of advanced online booking. News 9, TVB News.
Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has been suspended by the country's constitutional court. She is barred from office while an investigation takes place over a leaked phone call with a former Cambodian leader. Deputy Prime Minister and Transport Minister Surya Jimrongruangkit will take over as acting Prime Minister. David Garrett reports.
Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra climbing down and had apologised for appearing to kowtow to Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. Now the Constitutional Court suspends her in a 7-2 vote after accepting a petition from 36 senators which accuses the 38-year-old of dishonesty and breaching ethics. Paetongtarn insists she acted in the best interests of Thailand. My intentions 100% were to protect our sovereignty, to protect the lives of soldiers, she said after the court ruling. I'm confident about that, but my methods please some and upset others.
Paetongtarn said after the court order that she would accept the process and would do her best to defend herself, as she had no other intentions but to protect the country and preserve peace. She also thanked her supporters and apologised to people who got upset over the leaked call.
The pressure had been mounting on the daughter of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. Paetongtarn's suspension came on the back of huge street protests over the weekend, mostly nationalist conservatives calling for her to resign. In the recorded call, she called Hun Sen uncle.
Paetongtarn has faced growing dissatisfaction over her handling of the latest border dispute with Cambodia, involving an armed confrontation on May 28, in which one Cambodian soldier was killed. The leaked phone call while she engaged in diplomacy over the border dispute set off a string of complaints and public protests.
Paetongtarn became Thailand's youngest Prime Minister in August, then 37, but less than a year in, her tenure is tenuous. She's already being investigated by the Anti-Corruption Commission. Paetongtarn is the third Prime Minister from her family. Her aunt Yingluck, the first woman to lead the country of more than 70 million in 2011. Her father, billionaire Thaksin, was ousted by a military coup in 2006, although remains popular among many. The court has given Paetongtarn 15 days to present her case and prove that she did nothing wrong and is up to the job of leading Thailand. David Garrett, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping and his top financial officials have pledged to step up regulation of aggressive price cutting by Chinese firms. At a meeting of the Central Commission for Financial and Economic Affairs, officials agreed that enterprises engaging in disorderly low-price competition must be regulated. Analysts say the price wars are showing signs of influencing consumer behavior, which could drive further reductions and lead to negative economic consequences. The Commission is keen to see businesses being guided to improve quality and support the orderly phasing out of outdated production capacity. Welcome back. In the U.S., Republican lawmakers are working to advance President Donald Trump's tax cut and spending package, dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill, to gain passage in the Senate. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said they're figuring out how to get to the endgame. Danny Jo has details.
The U.S. Senate passed the procedural vote on the so-called Big Beautiful Bill by 51-49 last Saturday. It is now on the floor for a marathon vote-a-rama on proposed amendments, an opportunity for both parties to put their colleagues on the spot. Earlier, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer forced a 16-hour reading of the 940-page megabill overnight in a bid to highlight provisions that Democrats say will harm Americans. Schumer said Republicans are in shambles because they know the bill is so unpopular, adding that Democrats are bringing amendment after amendment after amendment to the floor. At the center of the legislation is an extension to Donald Trump's 2017 tax cuts, with steep reductions to healthcare, food aid, and clean energy programs. A review by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projected the bill would cut $930 billion from the Medicaid. Democrats lined up to rail against downsizing Medicaid while giving tax breaks to the ultra-rich.
I want to know if my colleagues on the other side of the aisle believe that there are some Americans so wealthy that perhaps they don't need a tax break at the expense of health care and food for our most vulnerable constituents.
Giving a tax break to the richest people and most profitable corporations is a choice. And paying for it by kicking 17 million Americans off their health insurance is a choice.
And Republicans came to defend the sweeping tax cuts.
Y'all will never do anything to make sure taxes go down, so we're going to make sure they go down forever. You're going to be happy to reduce the deficit and make sure people's taxes don't go up.
I'm telling the president.
Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, meanwhile, staked out his opposition, saying the package is a betrayal of the president's promises not to kick people off health care. Despite this, Tillis joined other Republicans to assert that the tax cuts would lead to economic growth. Tesla founder Elon Musk renewed his criticism of the bill, which he says will hike U.S. deficit, and pledged to oust Republican lawmakers who vote for it. He has also threatened to form an American party if the bill gets passed. In response, Trump suggested the Government Efficiency Department, or DOGE, should look at the subsidies that Musk's business empire has received in order to save money. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Beijing has sanctioned former Philippine Senator Francis Tolentino over his anti-China stance, including bringing in laws that marked out the Philippines' territorial claims in the disputed South China Sea, which China opposed. Tolentino has just finished serving his 6-year term as Majority Leader of the Philippine Senate. China says he is prohibited from entering the Chinese mainland and the territories of Hong Kong and Macau. A spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry lashed out at certain Filipino politicians who have made malicious remarks and moves on issues related to China that hurt bilateral ties, stressing that actions that undermine China's interests will inevitably come at a cost. The ministry said in a statement that the Chinese government is firmly resolved to defend national sovereignty, security, and development interests. The 2025 honors list are published today, with 427 awards given out. 9 awards are related to the recipients' work in the field of national security. Mosinai reports.
This year's honors list features about 70 fewer recipients than the previous year. 3 individuals received the Grand Bohemia Medal, the highest honor in the city's award system. They include Lawrence Fong, founder and chairman of Hong Kong Economic Times Group, who is recognized by his work in the field of media, economy, and education. Charles Yuan, founder and chairman of the Glorious Sun Group, is awarded for his work in the promotion in economic collaboration between Hong Kong and the mainland. And Leung Ziyang, who is a former chairman of the Hospital Authority and an internationally renowned specialist in orthopedic surgery. Secretary for Justice Paul Lam, former Police Commissioner Raymond Siu, and Gan Kai-yan, Deputy Police Commissioner National Security, were among the 20 Gold Bohemia Star recipients. The 29 Silver Bohemia Star awardees include Ho Pui-shan, former Commissioner of Customs and Excise, and Vivian Kong, Olympic gold medalist in fencing. Li Guihua, Police Chief Superintendent for National Security, is one of the 46 Bronze Bohemia Star recipients. 3 athletes received the Bronze Award after winning gold medals at the Paris Paralympics. The government also appointed 66 Justices of the Peace, including Kevin Yeung, former Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, and Lam Sai-hong, former Secretary for Transport and Logistics. Memos 9, TVB News.
Shanghai's climate and nature have made it easier for livestock and fish to be raised in a more organic way. In the 6th part of our Shanghai series, Jacqueline travels to 2 Tibetan autonomous prefectures where locals hope to use Hong Kong as a gateway to the global market.
Grazing along the pastures of Qinghai's Haibei Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture at more than 3,000 meters above sea level, yaks and Tibetan sheep are herded, free-range and chemical-free. 27-year-old Pumao Zhongji grew up herding livestock and now works to promote food products sourced from her hometown. She says the meadows in Haibei grow not just grass but also 100 types of medicinal herbs, including snow lotus. The organic ranch's yak and lamb products earned certification by the Hong Kong Standards and Testing Center in April for nutrition and safety. But for many other herders unfamiliar with marketing, selling their meat has never been easy. To address that, the local government helped establish more than 960 ecological livestock cooperatives, connecting herders with better markets and fairer prices. The representative of this state-owned enterprise that procures local farm specialties said their mission is to find pastures and support local herders. The enterprise is trying to market their local specialties to the world stage via the SAR. One standout in Qinghai's global food push is the Longyangsha rainbow trout from the Hainan Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture, marketed as salmon on the Chinese market. This company, with an over 50% domestic market share, has secured export access to Singapore, Spain, and as of May, Japan. Using a smart feeding system, the farm delivers precise portions, cutting costs and raising yields with a lighter footprint on the environment. Though rainbow trout isn't the kind of salmon Hong Kong consumers are familiar with, it belongs to the Salmonidae family. Hong Kong Center for Food Safety has warned that freshwater fish are more susceptible to parasites, posing health risks if eaten raw. What about lake-dwelling rainbow trout? Qinghai Salmon Company said the deep water at Longyangsha makes it harder for their fish to contract parasites from mollusks, unlike other freshwater species. Visitors must wear full protective gear like me to prevent fish virus transmission. Regular staff are exempt as they stay on site. Jacqueline, TVB News, Qinghai.
And that's the news. Thanks for watching.